Listen, I just like women in general.
Oh.
So do not make assumptions. I look very good for my age. I work out and I'm strong and I have a lot of vitality.
You think she's stooping Kennedy?
Well, I couldn't understand how I was in this I was in the real VIP area for his event. I was with his, I was seeing I remember I messaged you. I'm like, I could tell that these are all relatives of his because the Kennedys have very distinct facial structures.
It's called inbreeding, but yes.
Okay, fine. If that's what you want.
I mean, yeah, but you want to know why yes.
But I'm here. You remember the show Lost?
Yeah, it was good for a few seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to Evangeline Lilly for a few minutes. I mean, she was there. There was tons of people that were there. And then all of a sudden you see this girl who, I didn't think she was in her early 20s. I thought that she was maybe 30, something like that.
That's because she's already had work done.
Oh,
by the time she's my age, I'm scared for her. She'll look like Wildstein or one of those other people that had so much plastic surgery, because she's 23 and I'm looking at her. She's already had work done on her face, which is insane. At 23 to be yeah. So let's see.
There is something
She went to North Shore Hebrew Academy, attended Hofstra.
Yeah, she's North Shore, Long Island. That's
she's secular Jew. She kept kosher, visited Israel. Right. Her whole thing. Yeah, I see it. I'm trying to figure out who she's sleeping with, but I can't get it just from these little things. But clearly somebody. Or it could be as simple as her dad is rich and powerful and connected her. It's a connection thing.
I definitely agree. RFK.
She's not going to age well. She's going to age worse than Pam Anderson. This is not going to age well at all. This type of plastic starts to really these fillers start to migrate. This is going to be a hot mess in 10 years.
Oh, I think that she's a hot mess already, because I cannot for the life of me understand how she actually, looks this way.
But you see, she looks plastic.
Sure.
She's 23. She doesn't look like she's young enough to be my kid.
No, not at all. That's
what I'm saying. So she's Reese's age.
So
she is the age of my son, and yet I don't think I look old enough to be this woman's mother. She looks like a Barbie doll, plastic Barbie doll.
David Hunter with the $20. Jen.
Thank you. I will have a cocktail. I'm going to a restaurant called Columbia, and there's a few of them because I know there's one in Tampa. We don't have any down in South Florida. My mom recommended it. I looked at the menu, Peter. You have to look at the menu because you'll be like, oh my God, I have to stop.
Galore, I'm sure I would be extremely satisfied.
It's basically like Spanish Cuban with a seafood twist. So I can actually get a Cuban sandwich with mahi.
Ooh, instead of okay.
That's you see great. What I'm saying? But they have, it's this menu, I don't know how I'm going to figure out what to eat. I'm very excited about it. And I don't usually get excited about particular restaurants anymore.
Colin, please pull up that tweet of RFK that I just sent to you, please. So
I know you think that, Brett, and I understand that people see it that way. And I'm telling you, it's just bigger than that, though. The people with the money are the people who are in charge.
Mm-hmm.
And that's us.
So here's what I think we should all be asking ourselves. RFK is supposed to be in charge of human health and services.
Right.
What he is doing constantly. I'm not talking whenever he sticks his head up to make a commentary about politics, it's always about defense of Israel. So he put out this.
He's still overcompensating. He's been overcompensating since the very beginning when he first started running in the Democratic Party.
Instead of inspiring universal condemnation, the October 7th Holocaust triggered a global wave of anti-Semitism. Ivy League campuses became a greenhouse for poison. President Trump has ordered his cabinet to use every constitutional tool to uproot this divisive weed. I'm glad Columbia has agreed to this first step and will begin to restore itself as a garden of tolerance, reason, compassion, and respect. He almost used your language right there to say because as you say, Jen, in reason, passion, and justice. That's pretty
those
freaking
are
close.
my 3 important things are reason, passion, and justice. That's not everybody else's 3 important things.
But this doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense.
It makes sense from the standpoint of somebody who's up Shmuley's ass. It makes sense from the standpoint of somebody who is now part of a Zionist administration. It makes sense.
Well, then I have to ask you, well, then the question that has to be asked here, and it's all tongue in cheek because, again, can't make presumptions. Is it possible that Bobby could be having an affair with Emily Austin? It's possible. I don't discount that possibility. It's plausible deniability.
But what does that have to do with this? That has nothing to do with it.
What it has to do with is simply this: is he compromised? Because I think he might.
Not because of her. Certainly not because of her.
But do you think he's compromised? Do you think there's something?
Do I think he's Mossad?
No. Do you think it's possible? Remember, this is exactly why, and I haven't read this book yet, and I've mentioned this to you guys time and time again, and I'll mention it again. The book is called One Nation Under Blackmail by Whitney Webb. And the understanding in the premise of the book is this idea that the reason why Israel has been so successful with their lobby in particular in infiltrating systemic control of our government and its elected officials is because they engage in espionage. They engage in blackmail. They find out the weak points of a lot of these high-ranking individuals, like a Bobby Kennedy. They seize on that opportunity, and then they compromise them.
To me, I don't know. I think at this point, he's like immune to that. What's going to really compromise a Kennedy this many generations in? Like, what's going to really matter? Him cheating on his wife? Nobody gives a shit. Him, like, I don't think so. I think he is just genuinely just getting along with that and going along to get along with the Zionists. I don't know what his agenda is, but no, I don't think he's compromised other than he's a Zionist. So by definition, they're all compromised as far as I'm concerned, because if you're a Zionist, you're putting another country ahead of our country.
Yeah, I mean, to me, there's just I'm very suspicious of a person who constantly feels like they have to tell the world that they love Israel.
I don't know how much of that is coming from him or how much of that is being sort of pushed on him. I don't know.
He goes right along with it. He doesn't say no.
That's what I mean. I mean, I don't know that doesn't come down in the cabinet meeting being like, hey, everybody's got to make sure that we got to keep harping on the anti-Semitism thing. All right. I don't know. They're all Zionists. They're all Zionists. The whole administration is full of Zionists. So,
well, they're all Zionists, whether they want to be or not. See, that's the key. I think
they do. But that's the difference, is that I believe that all of these people chose that anyway, which is what allowed them to have this job.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that that's what they really feel and believe.
I think it is with him, though. I do.
With Bobby, it might be, but the Catholics are not. The Catholics and the Protestants are two very different religious denominations.
You're assuming it's religious based in his case, and I don't think it is. I don't think he's like Christians United for Israel kind of. I don't think he's that. I don't think he's a Christian Zionist because it has to do with his faith. I think he's a Zionist geopolitically because it just aligns with his worldview. Well,
then that's a completely different response. I mean,
why? It's still a Zionist. Your reasons for wanting a Jewish state are irrelevant to me. I don't care if it's because you think that's where Jews are safe. I don't care if you think it's because that's where the rapture is going to happen. I don't care why you want a Jewish state. If you want a Jewish state, then you are a Zionist and you are a problem. So your reasons are irrelevant to me. Now, some are more ridiculous than others. Just like as an atheist, I do think some religions are sillier than others, even though kind of they're all weird to me. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's religious in his case.
Well, I do like what Ghislaine has to say. I do think that there could be some truth to this. Until RFK undergoes successful therapy dealing with his childhood trauma from the public murder of his father, he presumably will still be psycho over Israel and angry, conscious or not, at folk he associates with, which I understand what you're saying, because the whole premise of that Sirhan, who was Palestinian, allegedly murdered RFK. And the reason—
I don't believe that, though. And I don't think Bobby believes that.
No, certainly Ken McCarthy, who did extensive research on it, doesn't believe it.
No. There's no way that RFK thinks that.
Guys, if you have not—
he's way too informed.
I'm going to pull this out for 1 second.
Right. Catholics aren't down with Zionism, which is why I don't think in RFK's case, I don't think it's religious ideology. I think it's geopolitical. And quite honestly, generations in like ingrained in us. Yeah, that's our friend Ken's book. Guys, if you haven't seen, it's so hard to see. JFK and RFK's Secret Battle Against Zionist Extremism. Friend Ken McCarthy is the author of that book. If you guys haven't seen it, we did do an interview with him a few weeks back. And yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, it's definitely changed my perspective from just automatically thinking, okay, this had to do with the Dulles brothers and the CIA. And now I definitely see the whole inclusion of the Mossad problem.
Well, then that just completely throws everything up in the air, because if RFK doesn't believe,
I told you, he's way too well read and knows way too much inside information to think that. There's no way he thinks that.